Welcome to the Amateur's Advantage. I'm Laura Ashley, a Grand Prix dressage trainer and gold medalist rider, here to share the tools and principles that help riders and horses work in harmony no matter your discipline. Each week, I sit down with amateur riders, pro trainers, and equestrian professionals from every corner of the horse world to talk about the real stuff. Training struggles, mindset shifts, breakthroughs in the saddle, and how classical dressage can make us all better horsemen and women. Think of this as your tack room talk, your post-lesson debrief, and your barn family between rides. Let's get into it. Okay, we're ready to dive in. We are here with Laura Ashley Dressage for another podcast episode. Today I have my client Deb with me, and she is an adult amateur rider getting back in the saddle. And today we're going to spend a little time figuring out how it all started for each other and bonding over our horse journeys together.
Thanks so much for having me today. I'm really excited for your podcast and to have the chance to talk to you.
Yeah, it's always fun chatting with you. I think that's probably 50% of our lessons is catching up on story time and relating it back to how your old experiences are affecting you now in the saddle.
Absolutely.
So when did you start your horse journey?
I started my horse journey very strangely. I don't remember this part. My mom told me that I was 4 years old. They were watching the Olympics. I happened to walk past the television and saw jumping. She said, "You stopped, sat down and watched it. And when it finished, you got up, said, 'I'm going to do that,' and walked away."
Okay.
They didn't think anything of it. But every day I would be like, when am I going to ride horses? When am I going to ride horses?
Yeah.
So at 5 years old, for my birthday, my dad took me to a barn to go ride. And as you pulled into the driveway, you could see the arena, and there was a girl jumping. And they put me on a horse, and of course my feet didn't even touch the stirrups, and they were leading me around. And I was so mad at my dad because I wanted them to just let me go in the arena and start jumping.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
And then when I was a little older, I got into the Girl Scouts just so I could ride. And I found somebody that let me start riding their horse, Western Pleasure.
Gotcha. So for me, I always loved animals. My parents called me Elmira from the Looney Tunes when I was a kid because it was, "I'll love you and I'll hug you and I'll squeeze you forever and ever." And like any random stranger's dog or cat or hamster or horse or whatever, if it had fur, I wanted to snuggle it. So they expected that, of course, the horses would fit right in. And literally when I was born, my mom in the hospital room holding me said, "That's my little barn buddy." And she was excited to have her little girl that was going to spend all the time. Now, to give my family credit, my oldest brother is also a rider. He's a cowboy through and through. So she did already have a barn buddy, but there's 13 years between me and my big brother. So he was, getting into the teenage years and older then. So I was kind of the next up and coming one to hang out with her while she mucked stalls. I wanted to be around the animals, but I wasn't like, put me on top of the horse right now, right away. And then I want to say I was like 5 or 6, and we had purchased an Arabian filly. She was a baby. I think she was 5 months old when my family got her. And the plan was to buy like a 20-something-year-old quarter horse. And then my parents went into the barn, and this little dark bay filly started nibbling on my dad's jacket pocket, and he's like, "Can we have this one?" He's like, "Oh no, that's an Arabian, you can't have that one, like that's going to be too much horse for our family." And we got the horse. So that's what we had as our family pet for my mom, and she was barely broke most of the time when we first got her. She was just a foal. We tried the raising and training ourselves. It went okay. And so they had put me on, the horse's name was Kira, for a lead line session when I was 5 or 6. And she spooked and like jumped a little sideways, and I toppled right off and came off the side. And it was so far off the ground because she was like, I think 15 too. And my mom went in the house and told my dad that his sweet little girl had just fallen off of a horse, and we needed something lower to the ground so that I was safer if I was going to get hooked on this riding stuff. So then my mom took me around town, and this was back when like horse sale ads would be in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And I lived in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So it was a lot of like family horses and Amish horses. So we went to look at this one adorable little like, who's his Mary Legs. It was like Mary Legs from Black Beauty. And it was like a little cart horse that was white and fluffy and cute and perfect. And they didn't get me that one. They got me the Welsh pony, Cocoa Puff is now her name. Oh. And she was, we didn't know it, but she was 2.5 years old, and she was the Amish family's driving horse. So she would take the buggy with the kids down for errands through town. We went to go look at her, and there was like 7 children hanging off limbs of her body, hugging her from the neck, one around each leg, pulling on her tail. And it was nighttime in the winter, so they took Coco with oil lamp into their workshop inside this like small dark building for leather making and showed her to us there. And we're like, wow, what a saint that she's letting all these kids play with her and she's so safe. So my mom pulled aside the wife of the Amish man and said, so, like, what's the story? Has this pony been good with your kids? And she goes, well, there was this one time. And my mom's like, oh no, what happened? And she said, well, there was this big truck. And she's like, yeah. And well, we were driving the pony down the road and this big truck comes by. It's like, uh-huh. And, well, she stopped. Like, that's it? Yes, she stood. And then what happened? Well, we trotted to the market. It's like, we'll take her. So that's how I got Coco. I spent all of my time in that pony's stall. And when we first had the vet come to check her out, because we didn't do a vet check, we just took the pony, crossed our fingers. We didn't know any better. They looked at her teeth, and the vet goes, don't let your daughter alone in the stall with this pony. She's only 2.5. My mom goes, what? We got a 2.5-year-old pony? Uh-oh. So it worked out well because I wasn't doing much riding at the time. It was just being around the horses that I kind of got to bond with her in the first few years. And then when I was 7, we took Coco to my 4-H instructor's farm. And my mom would drive me there every day before she went to the hospital to work as a nurse, drop me off, abandon me at the barn as a typical barn rat should do.
Absolutely.
And I would clean, I think there was like 10 or 12 stalls with me and my childhood barn bestie, who was Hannah. Shout out Hannah. And so we would kind of like borrow lesson horses. She had 2, and then like sometimes I could ride Oscar, the old horse, and then there was Sammy, the other pony. He was a Shetland, and then I had Coco over there. And we were just like barn hooligans. But as long as the stalls got cleaned and the waters got filled, we were allowed to kind of have free range at the farm. And then I would clean my horse trainer's house, shout out Deb Jeffries, so that I could get extra riding lessons. And so I would clean the house, clean the barn, and then we would get to ride whatever was left over. And she had a little camper, and we would like play house in the camper and have our lunches there.
What an amazing childhood.
It was pretty great. And so I'd be there like 12 hours a day, and then my mom would pick me up like dirty and sweaty at the end of the day when she was done with the nursing stuff, and we'd do it all over again. So that was kind of the formative years for me, and they let me screw up a lot with like, Deb would see us trying dumb stuff, and she would just watch out the window, and she'd be like, they're not going to die. The pony will teach them what they need to know real fast. I remember there was one day I tried to lead in 3 ponies at once from the top paddock. That was a no. I lost one. It ran back to the barn. It was fine. Many days of trying to figure out how to clip my pony's ears. I never got very good at that. And riding horses, falling off horses, pretending we could like cowboy movie run and jump on them from behind, and like just dumb kid stuff. And like the consequences came with it, but so did the lessons. Like getting your horse caught from a field when it doesn't want to get caught and spending an hour and a half out there trying to get a halter on it. Those little things. Or the horse won't put in a bit and you're like, okay, well, your whole lesson's going to be figuring out how to get the bridle on that horse that's too tall for you. Good luck, kid. Oh, you want to ride it, but the mounting block is missing? Guess you got to figure out how to get on somehow. Teach your horse how to load or mount from the fence. So things like that were like the best life lessons for me growing up.
That sounds absolutely amazing. And I would have loved to have those experiences. I am a city girl.
Okay.
I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, not a horse in sight.
Oh.
Which is why I joined Girl Scouts, because I heard they had horseback camp.
Okay.
So I begged my mom to let me go to Girl Scouts, sold as many cookies as I could, worked on the badges just so I could go to horseback riding camp.
Mm-hmm.
And went to horseback riding camp, and that was like my first, and I was probably about 7 or 8, because I was still a brownie.
Okay.
And like spent a week at horseback riding camp where we would race Shetland ponies bareback and get trampled and have a great time, and just we had zero clue what we were doing, but it was the most amazing thing. And then I was so obsessed with horses, and of course in the city I don't have access, and we weren't poor, we were like low middle class.
Okay.
So I took every book out of the library. I would get every little Breyer horse statue, and I knew every single one of the breeds. I would watch every single movie, and then when I got the opportunity to ride Western Pleasure, I whatever you want. And then it was, I don't have any money for clothes. Somebody had an old pair of cowboy boots. I would just take them and stuff the toe with them. I didn't have the right clothes. But my love always was, I wanted to jump.
Okay.
And luckily when I was a sophomore in high school, my parents moved to Northwest Indiana, and I immediately found a barn and started riding. And I had my first instructor, Jenny Gill. It was a great introduction into horseback riding. You know, I got a lot of experience. We had these little barn shows. She had a daughter that was a little bit younger than me, and so I got to go to some horse shows. I got to go to the 3-day eventing down in Lexington, Kentucky, because they wanted someone to hang out with their daughter. We got to take about 10 horses and go camping out at Brown State Park, and we would sleep under the stars and ride horses all day. So I got a lot of great experience, but riding with her, I thought I was a much better rider than I was.
Okay.
Because she would always tell me that you're doing great, you're fantastic. I would win so much in her barn shows. I was ready. I was ready for 3-day eventing. And so I started looking for another instructor to help me with that.
Yeah.
And the first lesson I had with him, Chuck Layton, very formative years, and taught me so much. When he started telling me to use my indirect rein and something else, I had no idea what he was talking about. And I immediately started riding with him and stopped riding with Jenny.
Okay. So you got that foundation that you needed, that raw horsemanship early on, but then you got to that finesse phase after, and that's when you switched from your Western to your eventing stuff.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
I did the 4-H, and that was all my basic good horsemanship, like how to be a horse person. And I learned how to ride and sometimes fall off and sometimes not. My pony would always like buck into the canter, and so it was common for me to fall off like multiple times in a ride while I was learning early on. And my mom actually got kicked out of my lessons, and she was friends with my instructor, so she's like, if you're going to be squeamish about your kid falling off, you need to go away. I'm going to teach your kid how to ride. You come back in an hour. So after the 4-H stuff, I kind of outgrew my pony. She was 12 too. And we had that Arabian in the barn that was a filly, was a foal, and now was 7, I guess, at the time. And so my mom had been taking me around. I wanted to jump as well. And she's so supportive that she said, you know, we can't just be collecting horses. We didn't have it like that either. My riding clothes came from Goodwill because you could get paddock boots there back then.
Awesome.
You know, you'd find them as like, oh, they were cute, stylish shoes. And so we would thrift together my show outfits too, beg, borrow, and steal whatever equipment we had to get it done, to get in the show ring. And not the steel part, just the beg and borrow. But she said, if you want to do the hunter jumper stuff, we're going to need to get you something other than this Arabian horse. If this is really what you want, we could sell her and get something different. And I came back and said, no, this is our family horse. This is what we have. This is what we're going to work with. And so we're like, well, what do Arabians do? What is their main industry? Like, you get a quarter horse, you're like, okay, maybe it does like cutting or something. And you get a saddlebred and it does saddle seat, or I don't know, a hackney and it drives. Like, there's some sort of, the breed is most commonly used for this type of riding. So we're like, all right, what do you do with an Arab? Turns out you can do a ton of stuff with an Arabian,
yes.
Which worked out great long term, but the 4-H barn wasn't the place to continue down the lines with her. So I moved to an Arabian barn that did the Arabian circuit. And this was my first A-rate horse shows with Youssef, before it all been like 4-H backyard local riding club. And so I had so much to learn, and it was all just uncharted territory, even like the qualifications and the memberships. How do you find the events on a show calendar? What is your horse supposed to look like going in the ring? Like, they had special clipping patterns they did on their faces to make them like more naked basically on their face, and then like highlighters and gels. The Arab circuit knows how to make a horse look really clean and pretty. There was even like a pedicure routine that we did to polish up their hooves for the show ring in a special way. And so I had to learn all these grooming techniques that were expected. And we started with hunter pleasure. Not hunter on the flat, but like main ring Arabian hunters, which are a bit more like tucked, solid, this is my neck position. But those horses are machines. They just go around and clock off their job. They're super steady, and they go forward nicely. They even have you do a hand gallop. So like they go forward, and they're all very lovely. It was huge classes, like 20 in a class was normal when I was a kid. And so I did the hunter pleasure and the hunt seat equitation, which was a pattern class. So we did that. But then I kind of outgrew that trainer, and we were looking for the next step in really understanding the riding and to be more competitive. So I went to another barn in my teens that was more competitive, more high level, I guess you could say, to kind of take the next step in my riding. And that's where I learned what inside leg to outside rein was. I have distinct memory. They got new arena sand, and it was all like in a pile in the one spot of the arena. And she was telling me to use my outside rein to make a circle. I'm like, no, if I do that, the horse is going to go the other way. Pull right, go right, pull left, go left. Like, no, this doesn't make sense. And she's like, you're going to go around that sand pile until it works. Will you just do what I say already? And like, now I get that, because as an instructor, I'm like, if you just did the thing that I tell you to do, this would go fine, but you're literally doing the opposite. And sometimes just like that blind faith and following the instructions, and you're like, oh, that's inside leg to outside rein. Whoa. So like that was probably the biggest moment. And we were using gadgets back then, like martingales, like the 10-ring martingales, to put the horse on the bit. But like I didn't even, and it was more like headset or frame than it was throughness and top line. But I kind of started to learn what the reins in your hands could even do, because before my horses were just giraffes. And so I started to kind of learn how to use my legs to ride a horse and how the reins could affect the horse's way of going. So that was kind of the next step in my whole journey.
My first horse, the serious horse for jumping, was also an Arabian. It
Oh,
was
really?
3/4 Arabian, 1/4 quarter horse. It was Ann Boosie's horse.
Okay.
And she had hurt her back, and she needed somebody to ride her horse. So I used that as my lesson horse. It was my first jumper show when I went to show. That was the first horse I used. And a little flighty, but I remember Chuck telling me, you have got such a good base. He's like, I've just got to clean you up. And he would make me ride in the arena with no stirrups. Then it would be another day, just stirrups. You'd knot up the reins on the neck, and he'd be like, do a circle. You have to do this with your body weight and your legs. And then he would take the riding crop, and you would put it on your back, and you put your arms like this to ride. And this horse was a little flighty, and and it was small. It was probably 15'2". And he had thrown me once, so I was a little bit nervous. And so Chuck was in the middle of the ring in the arena, and he's like, "You're riding like you're scared you're gonna fall." And so as soon as I got close to him, he pushed me off the horse.
Oh, goodness.
And he had told us.
That's some tough love.
Yeah, absolutely. He was like, make sure that you distance yourself when you're falling.
Yeah.
And then once you're on the ground, just put your hand up so I know you're okay. And he said, now that we've gotten it over, get out of your head, get off your ass, and ride.
Oh, my goodness.
And he was really tough. He was a screamer, and I learned so much from him.
Yeah.
And then our barn rescued a bunch of horses that had been abandoned.
Okay.
And there were 4 of them, and they had shipping sickness. They were 500 pounds underweight. One of them died within 12 hours, and one of them died within 24. 2 horses made it. One was a beautiful, beautiful black gelding, and the other was this bay thoroughbred that, I mean, they looked terrible. And as he started to put on weight, he bit, he kicked, he cribbed. Every bad thing that he could do, he did. And the owner had a younger daughter, and he was a widower. And he needed somebody to watch his daughter. So he would tell me, I'll tell you what, you can come here and nobody will touch this horse. His name was Poker Ed. And I said, I hate that name. Can I change it? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. I said, I'm going to call him Dealer's Choice.
Oh, that's cute.
And he said, you can ride this horse. You for all intents and purpose, this is your horse.
Okay.
But you have to watch my daughter. Go out riding in the field with my daughter. You can take lessons. And this horse bit me, kicked me, dumped me several times. And after working with him for a couple years, he was like a puppy. And by the time I got my driver's license at 16 and would bring my car in, he would hear my car pulling into the stable, and he would be out in the pasture. He'd come running at the gate. I didn't even have to go get him anymore.
He knew your car. And
He knew my car.
Mom's here. That's a great feeling when you come in the barn aisle and like, you're my person. You're like, you just want me for treats, but I can work with this. This is fine.
Absolutely.
Whatever it takes to win you over. Yeah, so from the Arab that I had, we started with the hunter pleasure and the Eck, but then we did grooming and showmanship. We added in the Arabian halter class where they like stand and stretch their necks out. We did Native Arabian costume just because I wanted the outfit. You just get to like run around really fast and then walk, kind of, go the other way, and then run really fast and cool outfit the other way. That was always a good time. And they would do it at night under the spotlights, and it was all shimmery and sparkly. Then we started doing trail riding. We did get to jumping. I can't call it 3-day eventing because we only did the dressage and the stadium practice. The jumps were always interesting because she would try to jump like the standard on the left and the standard on the right. And then I have a picture of her like trying to land back feet first after a fence. We did it though. There was some pretty jumps mixed in as well, but we were winging it and having a great time. The reason that I was able to start to do these other disciplines with her and mix it up, we did the trail obstacle classes with like the gates and the bridges, and later dressage and sport horse under saddle and sport horse in hand. But it was the dressage that unlocked her brain and then allowed us to do all the other cool stuff. And by the time she was, I think like 10, 11, she was even teaching like kids lessons, and she was able to do everything. But the main ring Arabian stuff got her a bit like cuckoo in the brain. It was very routine, and she was too darn smart. And normally the problem with Arabians isn't that the Arabians are the problem, it's that they're smarter than their owners. And so you've got to be always thinking ahead of these horses and keeping them interested in their work. And so the hunter pleasure stuff just got so predictable for her that she would guess and anticipate. And when I switched to dressage, she was like, wait, we don't go in every time and then go counterclockwise and trot and then canter and then walk and reverse and then canter, then trot, then line up, then ring back and then leave. Oh, wait, you're up there and you need me to do a circle now? Oh. And so what the dressage did for her was it changed her brain and it changed her whole body. She went from being this like narrow-chested, almost step on yourself, slim horse to this like beefy powerhouse woman, and her neck filled out, her top line changed. She got big old quarter horse booty on her, even though she was all Arab. And seeing that transformation from this scrawny, flighty, overreactive, anticipatory mainring Arabian to this thinking athletic partner is like, I'm sold. This is it. Dressage is for me. I'm hooked for a lifetime. Whatever this sport is doing, these fundamentals, they are so good for the horse. I literally have proof sitting right here in this horse's body and its brain. There's something to it. I have to do this because clearly this is good for the horse.
That's great. I wanted to do 3-day eventing as well, especially after I went down and saw the trials down in Lexington, Kentucky. So on the property, we had ponds. We had all these obstacles that you could jump outside. So we started doing that. Of course, I got dumped into the water 2 or 3 times. Yeah. Just par for the course. And I only showed it like local shows, like at the county fairs. I went down to Southern Illinois and Indiana and traveled with the barn, and I loved my horse so very, very much. And now I'm about 17. I've been working for a while. Mm-hmm. I've saved some money, and I want to buy him. I want him to be mine. And I tell my instructor, and he immediately calls my mother and says, you cannot, my mom never came to lessons. He said, you cannot let your daughter buy this horse. Why? He's like, I know she loves him, and she's showing him, and I keep telling her I don't want her to show him anymore. The horse jumps like a cow. He's got horrible conformation. She does so much better when she rides other people's horses. He is not a show horse. She's done amazing with him. She's never going to go any further if she stays with this horse. So, of course, my mom said, you're not going to buy this horse. I was really, really sad. And then he sold it for $3,500. And I remember Mr. Nickren used to tell me, this horse isn't worth what it costs to feed him. And the only reason I keep him around is so that you can watch my daughter. Now, he was well off. So, I mean, his daughter at like 9, 10, 11 was like showing very high level. Actually was even like at the Rosemont at one of the big professional jump offs. But her horse at that time was, like $60,000-$70,000.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I wonder whatever happened to her. Shortly after high school, I was trying to, get a job, and I wanted to move out of the house, and I was really devastated to see that I didn't have the money or the training. I'm competing against girls that were half my age that are doing a lot better than me, and I got very discouraged, and I decided I was going to stop riding. So of course I sold all of my tack, and my mom said, are you sure you want to sell it all? And I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm done. And then of course, as soon as I got on the police department and had a steady income, what did I want to do? Ride again. So then it was buying all my stuff again. I said, well, I've done the jumping, which I'll go back to jumping. Once I'm back to my jumping, I will start cross country. But what I really need to do is find a dressage instructor. So it's very weird. I found her very much like I found you, which is I had a bunch of names, and I thought about it for a while, and I said, it will come to me who I'm supposed to train with. Yeah. And I ended up training in French classical dressage with Jill McRae. Okay. And it was amazing. I did do a little jumping after that, and I cannot tell you how the dressage changed my jumping. I used to have a problem like trying to figure out how many strides I should be, how solid I should be, and it really helped me. But I fell so much in love with dressage that I stopped jumping. Okay. And then I ended up buying a dressage horse, which was my heart horse, and that was Rabeau's Bid. He was an off-the-track thoroughbred, And I just love that horse. I loved him. But at some point I did sell him. And then for financial reasons, I was buying my first house, and I couldn't afford it. And then as soon as I got my finances back together, of course I wanted to find him, and he had, what is it, navicular? Yeah. But the vet said, it'll be a problem way down the line. You don't have to worry about it now. But he had to be shot every 5 weeks like clockwork. And I put ads in the paper. I went to all the tack places. I tried to trace it back to the person that I had sold him to and who he had sold him to, and I couldn't find it. I said, I don't care if he's lame. I will keep this horse. So my next horse is going to be with me till he dies or I die. And that's how I found you. I just moved back to the States. I was in Central America for about almost 10 years working. Went to California, my first job, but California was not for me for sure. And I wanted to come back to Florida. So I found several instructors, and I just thought about it. And it's weird, but it's like I have an intuitive side of me. And I said, I'm supposed to ride with Laura Ashley. And it was confirmed to me after my first lesson. I'm like, nope, this is it. Oh. This is the person. And I've only been riding with you since January.
Okay.
And it was a little rough for me because I'm an older returning rider. From the time I went to Central America till I came back, I'd also put on some weight. So I was not only trying to get my horse legs back, but try to get myself conditioned so that I could do what you're saying, because a lot of it, I knew what you were saying, but my body just wouldn't do it. Yeah. But now I've lost 23 pounds. Yay! I got another 15 I want to lose, but I'm seeing improvement. Yeah. And but it's going to be a little bit.
Yeah. But you first came to me and it was horses are your favorite form of fitness. Yeah. And that's okay. That you're like, well, if I have the option of a treadmill or a horse, which one would I be more apt to do consistently?
Yes.
And the horse then gave you the motivation that you're like, well, my brain knows I'm supposed to, but my body won't let me.
Yes.
So now I'm even more motivated in my week between my rides to make sure I'm doing the things I can, being kind to myself, giving myself the time that it takes to do it in a healthy way. But I know I can be better for my horse, and I will be better for my horse. And I'm going to keep training my brain now until my body catches up, so that then when my fitness is caught up, then my mentality is already right where it needs to be to do the job right.
And you've motivated me to work on my core. And also, I've had some serious injuries to both my knee and ankle, and I've had 5 surgeries on both of them. So one of the things that I am doing now is doing stretching, specifically concentrating on my hips, and it has made all the difference. And a lot of the exercises that you've given me
are warm-up stretches.
Our warm-up stretches help so much. I remember one day, because of work and long hours on my feet, I came in here and I was in so much pain, and you stretched me on the horse.
That's right, I do remember that.
And it changed me, and that's when I said, you said you've got to do this when you're not riding, but I was like, Laura, I'm in so much pain, and you stretched me. Not only did I have a good ride, but I was able to go home and go, oh my God, this is so much better. Yeah. And that's why I've incorporated stretching and core exercises. And I can feel the improvement.
Yeah, it's showing up, because now it's not just, okay, I'm setting the timer, you're going to do this many minutes of trotting, keep on posting, don't quit now, no walk break until you get to that letter. Now it's, okay, but come on, get that horse in front of your leg. I need a real working trot. All right, now, come on, you do better than that. Let's see the connection. Get that top line working properly. Now, how is that geometry? Do that circle 5 more times. You'll be fine. Keep riding. So we've totally changed the tone of the lesson from just getting through the steps to the quality of the steps now.
One of the things that I really like is you make it fun, okay? But you're also making me be accountable. You're not, hey, you're just going to be on a horse. And I've had a mental health day where I needed just to be on the horse, and you were really supportive of that. But you're like, no, you need to work. That you told me your goal was to improve your riding. I have no desire to show, at least I don't think so.
Not this week.
Not this week. But my goal is I want to be a better rider for my horse, for myself, and all of these steps are going to help me when you help me find my next hard horse. And I feel like you're listening to what it is, but you're making me accountable when you're telling me you know how to do this. Why are you not doing it? You're not letting me slack off, and I like that.
And if there's ever a gap in your knowledge, we do break it down.
Yes, you do.
There's always okay, is this, come on, put your heart into it, let's go, grit it out, riding is hard, it's a sport, tough luck, suck it up, buttercup. Or is this hey, I'm really not getting this, can you give me a different analogy, break it down a little bit further, show me with your body so then I can comprehend it so that I can execute it. And I think the one thing that you do a good job with as a student is the goals that you say you set in every area of your life are actually your goals. I do have some clients that say, oh, well, I really want to get back in the show ring. But then they're like, well, I'll ride twice this month and I'm on vacation and this came up, I'm tired. And they just don't take the necessary steps to reach those goals. Or like, oh, I really, really want to work on my canter. I'm like, okay, but every time I tell you to sit the trot to then prepare to canter, you go, no, I don't really want to do it today, or for whatever the reason is. But when you specifically say you're doing something, my goodness, you are doing it. Doesn't matter what it is. If you say it's happening, get on board. Come on, help me out.
What I like was, and this is going to sound really silly, but I was having a hard time, like, what is the 10 meter, what is the 20 meter circle? And you got out there in the ring and you went, right here, this is me. You have to go around. That is your 10. Here, now we're going to move it here. This is your 20.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, it gave me a really good visual because I had forgotten the order of the letters on the dressage.
Fair enough. They're so arbitrary. Like, I know they're based on the King's Court, blah, blah, blah. But really, like, B, E, P, they sound the same. Can we pick a different option?
So, I mean, I feel like you are supporting my goals, but you're also helping me with a plan to get me to the next level, to get me to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I look forward so much to my riding. And, I love the flexibility, like, hey, I have a full-time job. I'm working and, I don't get home until this time. Well, now it's summertime. It's a little warm. Hey, can we move it to 7 o'clock in the morning? So it's better for me. It's better for the horse. Yeah. And we usually avoid the rain. It comes like a little bit later. So, I mean, that's been great. And then can I just say how, I've gotten to ride 3 different horses that you've had. And I've loved all of them. Of course, I really love Freddie right now because he is very much like Ribot was about 16'2". He's got that same kind of movement. So he reminds me a lot of my hard horse. But I mean, and I love the way that I've had different experiences on different horses. So I mean, it's been great.
Well, we love having you here, and I can't wait to follow the rest of your riding journey. We'll have to do this again for part 2 and talk more about the specifics of our dressage phase of our life together.
Absolutely.
Well, it's
looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been great chatting with you today and knowing more about your life as a rider, not just a client.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I really love being part of this Laura Ashley family.
It's exciting. Big things coming, and the rest of you will be with us as well. So we'll see you guys next time around.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us today. That's it for this episode of The Amateur's Advantage. If you found something helpful, share it with a barn friend, subscribe wherever you listen, and leave a review. It helps more riders to discover the show and join our equestrian community. Don't forget to follow Laura Ashley Dressage on Instagram and other social media channels for more tips, behind-the-scene content, and updates on future episodes. Join us next week as we continue to unpack real-life training challenges, mindset shifts, and how classical dressage principles can help solve problems for riders and horses of all disciplines.